Welcome to the Hedge Hoops betting stream hosted by Kenneth from the Competitive Hedge podcast. This is our third official Hedge Hoops betting stream. We chat about basketball headlines before diving into some of the best basketball cappers in the space. Now I'm joined by my co-host today. He is the co-host of the Field Stormers podcast. That's Walker Bailey, big SEC fan. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I wish that I got to watch these Saturdays and my team was competitive within the SEC, but they're not. But that's not going to stop me from watching everything else today. I looked up after I kind of chalked all my spots and had like 8 plays on my card and was like, well, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be posted up on the couch after this. Heading over to my dad's place later, too, to watch that Duke UNC game. Not the best game on the slate today by far, as much as people will make it seem that way. Like, the rivalry is great, but the teams aren't. So we'll probably chat about that game a little bit later on. But we wanted to talk about a couple headlines before we get into the slate today. And I think we all know what the best conference in college basketball is right now. Like, it's the Big 12. And if you think that it's another one, then I don't think that you can make a compelling argument as to why it's not the Big 12. But if you take the Big 12 out of it, for you, what's the best conference right now?
I would probably still give the Big Ten the edge. I mean, they have the number one team in the country in there. The team they're playing today is really good. I know that they're 15-7, and so it's kind of hard to like be like, oh yeah, like they're great. But I like Indiana. And then they've just got another handful of good teams. I'm not really high on the ACC. I just don't think there's a ton of top end quality in there. Like, I think Virginia's really good, but after that, I'm just kind of mid. And the Pac-12's got a couple of good teams, but I still think I prefer the Big Ten's depth right now. Even though the Big Ten is kind of the last couple of years really not fared well in the postseason.
I was kind of thinking that you were going to go the SEC route, which is where I was going with it. Because
I don't think it's like, I think Tennessee is really good, and I get the whole Rick Barnes thing, but they're really, really good. And Alabama's really, really good. But after that, just there's nothing there that I just feel really good about.
See, like for me, because obviously you've got the Tennessee and Bama at the top. Then you go to Auburn, which I don't love Auburn at all. So I get why you're saying, like, once you get past those top two, I just think that there's a lot of really competitive teams once you start getting into Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, couple teams that are kind of on the bubble as well with A&M and Florida. Georgia and Mississippi State are not great, but then there is a lot of like bottom teams in this conference right now. Like Vandy, we saw what Vandy did midweek when they lost by almost 60 points. So
yeah, and then Vandy's not even the worst one. Like Ole Miss and South Carolina are atrocious. Like, these teams are absolutely awful.
Like, I think that by the time we hit tournament time, we could see 6 or 7 SEC teams, and we'll probably get more Big Ten teams. And maybe this is just me over the last number of years. I look at the Big Ten and I'm like, I just feel like they're going to get to the tournament, and outside of Purdue, I don't know who's making a lot of noise. Maybe it's Indiana.
And Painter doesn't make noise in the tournament either. Like,
yeah,
like he has even like the Carson Edwards year is the only run he's made that's been impressive, and even then they didn't make the Final Four. Like, they just always find a way to flame out. Like, they got beat, and I know that North Texas team was really good, but like they get beat by North Texas in the first round as a 4 seed. Like, that's just stuff that like those high end teams don't do. I just feel like the Big Ten probably has a lot of the best coaches in the country, and I feel like they overachieve with their talent level, which gets them those seeds because they're playing against one another. And then they get to the tournament, and other conferences come with superior talent, and like coaching can only take you so far.
Yeah, I think that's also why all year I've been looking for my spots to go and bet against Purdue, because I know that they haven't been great against the spread either, but it's a program that, I don't equate it to long-term March Madness success.
Yeah. No, and like, I mean, it's funny you say that because we'll talk about it later, obviously, but like that's a big spot on my card today is like I'm fading Purdue at Assembly Hall today. Like, I think Indiana is going to get them. And I think that depth top to bottom, and like that Michigan State hasn't been great this year, and like God knows I've faded them to the ends of the earth, but like that's still a good basketball team. I'm fading them again today, but it's still a good basketball team with one of the great college coaches of all time with a bunch of veteran leadership in their backcourt. Like that's still a really good basketball team, and that's like a middling Big Ten team.
Yeah.
So like for me, just because of the depth, I think I would go with with the Big Ten. The Pac-12's been actually kind of surprising this year, just as good as Arizona's been. And then USC is still competent. I think Oregon's gonna be or is still okay. Like they got blown out the other night against Arizona, but I think they'll bounce back against Arizona State today. Um, I did, and then like Arizona State's been good too. Like I don't know that it's in the it's not in the conversation with probably the other leagues we've mentioned, but it's been better than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I do think that the Pac-12, funny enough, like we can head over to the next topic because you just mentioned the team that I had is kind of that dark horse team that's maybe on the outside right now, at least according to ESPN. I was looking at bracketology yesterday, starting to get into that mood of seeing where teams are at. And this is a team that's kind of on like the next four out in Arizona State. And they're sitting at 17-7 right now. Currently, I mean, they had that 4-game skid, which really killed them because they were up there for quite a while. And then they just beat Oregon State to kind of get it back on track. But I think the schedule's there for them in order to get in. They're really banking right now on those couple early wins where they beat Creighton and they beat Michigan. But even those teams haven't lived up to probably what preseason we had them at. Like I know you were really high on Creighton. I was as well. And then they've got this pivotal stretch where they get teams like Oregon, Stanford, Cal, and Colorado. And then late in the year, they're going to have to play Utah, Arizona, UCLA, and Oregon. So I'm just hoping that they pick up a couple wins late in the year, hopefully over Arizona or UCLA, which really gives them a boost for March Madness. But that's a team that I kind of have on the outside looking in that I think could make a bit of a run late in the year, get into the dance, and then maybe make a little bit of noise. Who's maybe a dark horse team for you?
You'll like this one. So for me, it's Texas A&M. Like
Ooh.
they lost at Rupp a couple weeks ago, and then they lost at Arkansas. Like, but I came away actually like in a game that A&M lost by I think like 12 at Arkansas. I came away like hugely impressed because like they had a bunch of travel issues getting into Fayetteville with weather, and like still showed up and were hugely competitive. They've got top end talent. They've got a top end coach in Buzz Williams. I love Tyrese Radford. Um, I like that's a team that's been playing really, really well lately. They started super hot in SEC play. And I'm kind of bought in on it. Like I don't think it's a fluke thing or a soft schedule thing. Like I think that's a really good team. Lenardi, I think, has them as the first team out of the tournament right now. And I think that could be your candidate this year for the team that sneaks into Dayton to play in that first four game and then gets into that first round and like gets out of the first weekend. And we look up and that's the first four team that's in the Sweet 16. And everybody's kind of like, wow, why are we surprised? Buzz Williams team made a run in the tournament. He did that a lot at Virginia Tech. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did it again here with this A&M team. He's got them really, really playing well right now. I don't know who they have today, but
They got Georgia today. Good spot for them at
yes,
home.
they should grab another W today.
And the thing is, like, they have that Auburn win earlier in the year. Florida's a decent win. So is Missouri. They got to probably pick up another win or two. And I like A&M as well. I think that's a prime candidate for that. Like
I think
11.
I think if you're like hoping for an A&M like tournament bid and seeding stuff, you really are cheering for Auburn today because I think that A&M is going to be a prime back candidate on Tuesday night when Auburn comes to College Station because Auburn will be on their second consecutive road game after a trip to Tennessee, and then they'll have to get on the plane on a pretty short turnaround and go play A&M in College Station. So I think you're hoping Auburn plays like an A+ game today and gets that win to bump their net because I think A&M is going to beat Auburn regardless on Tuesday.
Yeah, I almost hope that they shoot the lights out and then they come back down to earth
Right.
against
And then
A&M.
A&M still gets a home spot with Tennessee as well. So like there's still opportunities left on that schedule where they can improve that resume.
They definitely can. I think that this is a team to keep an eye out for sure. Now, we got a lot of great games today. It's not just the ranked ones that are great. There's a lot of unranked games that are also really solid across the board, but we're going to focus on the game slate as far as those ranked teams go. So, we'll go conference by conference just looking at some of these games. Starting in the ACC, we got Virginia heading to Virginia Tech, and then you got Miami taking on Clemson. Either of these spots intrigue you today?
Yeah, I backed Virginia Tech. I backed Virginia Tech at home. I think took them just on the money line at -115 against Virginia. I also backed them in Charlottesville to no avail, +5.5. Virginia ended up just kind of getting away with that one late. But I still felt like when I watched the game, I still felt good about the spot. Like Virginia Tech's offense gave the pack line problems and they shot the ball well. So I think that you'll kind of get some of those same things again today. What surprised me was that Virginia Tech had so many problems defensively against Virginia. So I think that the home environment will like kind of notch that defense up and they'll make some adjustments and play better today. They say the second time you play a team is all about the adjustments you make. So I think that Virginia Tech makes adjustments defensively, kind of contains that Virginia offense. I think you could look at the under here today too. It's not my favorite play, but I think it's playable. I just went with Virginia Tech on the money line. I think they get it done and get the big upset today. I think they're an outside candidate for that dark horse team we talked about last segment. They've had a rough start, but they did this last year too under Mike Young, and then they went on the big run and they were a really really trendy hot team going into March.
So I'm actually going to bring on one of our guests because he's also playing Virginia Tech. I know he's got another ACC play as well. He was on a couple weeks ago. I'm going to bring on Tarp Sports. How's it going, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Great to be here.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So you got a couple ACC plays for us. So why are you on Virginia Tech today as well?
Oh, you guys already kind of spoke on it, man. It's just hard to beat a team twice, especially this time of year, getting later into the season. And I think they can make the adjustments, and I think they can. I think they have I feel like they have a very good offense. They shoot very well. I think they just need to break that Virginia defense. And at home, the crowd's going to be rowdy. I think they easily can. And yeah, I like the money line. I don't when it's close spreads, I just take unless you're getting the points. But if you're getting minus, when I took it, it was like -1.5. I think I just took money line.
Yeah, like because when I looked at this one yesterday, it was Virginia -1.5, and then it flipped overnight. So now we've got VT as a slight favorite at home. What was your other ACC play that you liked today?
This one I like Boston College. This one's kind of a momentum. Syracuse, they lost 3 in a row. They're just not looking good. I know Syracuse already beat this team by it was like 14. I think that was end of December, middle January-ish. I might be mixing up games here, but Boston College, they're win one, lose one, win one, lose one as well. But Syracuse just looks terrible as of late, and I like the hometown dog here.
I like it. I like the +3.5 there. Are you playing money line or are you playing points?
I'm taking the points.
You're taking the points? Okay.
Yes, yeah. When I get the points, you got to take them.
Oh, for sure. I
I
really
got
like
screwed
both of
over a
those
bunch
spots.
on that. Sorry about
Walker,
that.
what do you think of Boston College?
Yeah, you know me. I love a short home underdog. So I've seen that line anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5. I would definitely shop around and make sure you get the full possession. Like I don't think in a game that's going to be that close, you want to fiddle around and lose on the back door. But I would definitely lean to Boston College. It's not on my card, but I would lean to Boston College on the home dog. I think that they shoot it pretty well too, which is always a huge necessity when you're going up against that Boeheim 2-3.
Yeah, they do. Appreciate you hopping on Tarp Sports. Promote yourself. Where can the folks find your work?
Yes, sir. I appreciate being here. I appreciate it. Tarp Sports everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok. I make some videos, not just sports betting content. We talk about UFC fights and everything, kind of talking to fantasy stuff, news, all that, and YouTube also.
Have we got any UFC cards tonight?
Oh, it was supposed to be in Korea, I believe. So it's technically it is in Vegas, but it doesn't start till like 10 p.m.
Oof.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough one. Not great fights either, but
Okay, sounds good, buddy. Thanks so much for hopping on.
I appreciate being here, guys. Thank you.
I do like that Boston College spot, actually. It's one that I hadn't really looked at, and it is a little bit later in the day. So maybe, depending on how the early slate goes for me, maybe that's a recoup losses play later.
It's a weird one. And I think the reason that I didn't back Boston College is because when you have two teams that are really, really bad, like you just never really know, okay, well, how much can this team actually play up in this spot? Like seasons not I mean your season's never over with conference tournaments, but like your regular season to this point is basically just a dud. Like you question a lot of motivation and you question how high the ceiling is in a single game spot, but I would definitely bet Boston College if I had to bet it. I wouldn't want any part of laying points with Syracuse on the road.
Okay, so before we head over and talk about the Big Ten, I'm going to bring on our other guest that we've got here today, mostly because he's also a Man United fan. I just saw that Man United scored a few minutes ago. I think it was Rashford who scored once again. So he's going to be absolutely buzzing, and I know that he's got an international basketball play for us as well. So let's bring on part-time picks. How's it going, brother?
What's up, guys? Yeah, we just got Rashi slotted into the net here, up 2-0 against Palace. So pretty excited. Yeah, I'm also had a few beers right now. We're celebrating at 10:26 in the morning, so it's going to be a long day over here at PTP headquarters. So, yeah, so kind of want to talk. It's really a small slate today for college basketball. No official plays yet. I've been studying footy this whole entire morning, but the NBL playoffs are about to start. It's really weird. The season's just kind of – I'll make sure that you guys – I'm going to mute my TV just so you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, so NBL is about to start, which is really sad. The playoffs, these are like the final few games of the season. Some crazy – think of it as like the NFL, like the last game on a Sunday where like one team wins, they're going in the playoffs, the other one, see you later. There's like 4 teams today that are battling for this last position here. So Melbourne United, Matthew Dellavedova played there last season. He's back in the NBA now. And former Josh Giddey played for the 36ers, now plays for the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I like Melbourne on the spread tonight at home. They have to win this game. Adelaide's going to be a first-round exit if they make the playoffs. But if they don't win, Perth has a chance to win tonight against the best team in the NBL, the Sydney Kings. Sydney's a lot of fun. They're 19-8 this season. But Perth at the arena that they play, the RAC Arena, it's a huge – so think of Australia. Sydney, these two teams played just a few nights ago. Sydney had to travel to Adelaide. Sydney has to travel. I don't know if you've ever seen a map of Australia. And it's a big country. It's early. Don't let the map lie to you. Perth is on the one side of the country and then on the other side. So that's going to be like a 5 to 6 hour plane flight, they said. No one wants to do that. So I'm going to take probably Perth on the spread here at home. They're my team. I ordered an NBL jersey from Australia. It fit like a XL. It was supposed to be a 4X, so we're never buying a jersey from Australia ever again. So those are my 2 plays today. Of course, getting ready for college basketball, really excited. Not my best sport, so I can't give any confident picks out for you, but I appreciate you having me on. Last time I was on here, I gave out Billabong, and Billabong won. So, unofficial plays so far. Take Melbourne on the spread at home and Perth on the spread at home. Thanks so much, guys.
Sounds good, brother. Thanks so much for hopping on. I don't know enough about the international side, and I really should get more into it. But, I mean, it's like I have a hockey capper guy, and he loves, like, Finland hockey and Swedish hockey, and I just can't get behind it because I don't know enough about the teams.
But I don't know anything about the NBL. I was just like, all right, well, if I'm going to bet something late tonight and just need, like, get a little sauced, then at least I have some places to go.
And you've got a little bit of inside knowledge at least before you go out and do that. So
exactly.
All right, so let's head over. Let's talk Big Ten now. Number 1 Purdue, number 21 Indiana. You're obviously on the Indiana side. I want to play it as well, but I feel like a lot of people are on Indiana, and I haven't really done a major breakdown on this game. So, like, what is it for you?
It's just so a lot of it's the spot for me. Like, you get Purdue coming off a game where they blew Penn State out at home. They shot the lights out, so they're kind of due for a little bit of regression on the shooting side. Indiana's defense plays into that. You've also got a legit big that you feel like, I mean, nobody's going to just like quote unquote stop Zach Edey, but Trace Jackson Davis can at least slow him down. And so as long as I can keep Mason Gillis from having another 9 out of 12 shooting night from beyond the arc, like I really feel like Indiana is going to be in the game the entire way. The environment will be electric because it's the big Indiana rivalry game. I just think Indiana, with all the juice at home, plays up in this spot. We get their A+ game. I think they match up well on the defensive side, and then I think TJD could also theoretically get Edey in foul trouble on the other end. And if you get him off the floor and take away Purdue's biggest weapon, then it could turn into like one of those 10-point wins for Indiana. I think Indiana's got all the tools here to pull the upset. I think we've reached the peak of Purdue's market value. Like I don't think they're ever going to be valued higher than they're valued right now. So I think it's a good spot to sell high and then buy low on the Hoosiers.
I like it. Okay, I might tail that one as well, just based off of a lot of people's breakdowns that I've seen on this one. Before we move on from the Big Ten, we did have 2 plays submitted for that Rutgers and Michigan State game today. Now, at Easy Money Kev 7, shout out to Kev over at Off the Ball Network. He's obviously a Michigan State fan, so he's playing the plus 4.5 against Rutgers. But then Rob is giving me Rutgers money line along with Cincy money line as like a little 2-teamer for plus 116. So we're hoping for a Rutgers win, but by less than 5 points today. So that'll be something to monitor, at least for the network, because then we know that a couple of guys have some winners.
Well, but see, I laid the 4.5 with Rutgers, so
no. So someone's not coming out looking too pretty.
So I backed Rutgers on the road when they played Michigan State in East Lansing and watched the entirety of that game. And I felt like Rutgers got everything that they wanted, but Michigan State just shot the lights out. Like I think I was blowing up the chat because Michigan State started the second half 7 of 8 from 3. And like as we all know, watching basketball, that's not a replicable thing. Like you can't just drum up a 7 of 8 from 3. So I think that when you take that Michigan State team, who's an average 3-point shooting team, and you kind of regress them to that average, and then you look at that game, you'd be like, wow, like if Michigan State had just played like that, had that average shooting night, like Rutgers probably wins by 10. So I think now that you're you're taking on the road to the RAC, where Rutgers we know functions really well. Like opponents' dreams go to die in the RAC. So I think that you get a peak Rutgers performance in a revenge spot against Michigan State, where they like a defensive club gave up a bunch of 3-pointers. So that's been drilled into the head all week, getting ready for this one because just because of how defensive minded they are. I think they force a lot of those tough threes again. I just don't think they go down this time. I think Rutgers wins by 10-12. And picks up another big win.
Okay, well, someone's coming out not happy. We probably now at this point need the Rutgers to cover because then we get 2 guys that have a couple winners instead of potentially one.
2 is more than 1.
All right, so I guess that's where we're going with that one. I do actually want to go back to the ACC because I missed one game that got submitted, and I can't miss this one because it's the guy's birthday today. Shout out to Prez, Off the Ball Network President Chris LeBron. 34 years old. My goodness.
So old.
Time flies when you're old. But he likes Miami plus 1.5 today against Clemson. I kind of liked it as well. But I haven't been that high on Clemson at all this year. So I don't know if you're playing that game at all, but I'm kind of backing Miami on this one.
I've been the Miami fader. Like I really have loved betting against that team. I'm not really sure what it is, but like I backed NC State against them both times. Like I've just bet. I feel like I've bet against Miami a lot, and like I would lean the other way here, just with it being on the road. I think Miami is better than Clemson, but I just think like on the road in Clemson in that home spot, I think Clemson plays up. I would lean to Clemson. But I don't feel good about laying points with it. If I had gotten Clemson at maybe a pick 'em, then maybe I would have played it, but I don't want to have to lay points.
All right. Well, let's get a Miami win for Prez tonight, or at the very least, just lose by a single point. And so he can cover and then have a great birthday. He's obviously going to be watching that Duke and UNC game later on today with Duke laying minus 3.5 at home. So we can chat about that game later on. Now, Big 12 wise, I mean, best conference. Best games are on today in this conference as well. So we got number 8 Kansas taking on number 11 Iowa State. You got Texas Tech and Baylor, TCU and Oklahoma State, and Texas and Kansas State. I'll be honest, and I hate saying it, my favorite play on this one today was that Oklahoma State minus 1.5.
Oh, 100%. It's like 4.5 now.
Is it? Has it moved that much?
Yeah. It's got a ton. It took a ton of money, and I totally agree. Like 100%. Like TCU is so banged up. And I saw the stat too, where like, yeah, the TCU win over West Virginia was impressive, but West Virginia sat 2 starters out for the entire second half for like disciplinary reasons. So like that's kind of something that won't happen in Stillwater. And then also TCU got all their points at the rim, which is where Oklahoma State is at their strongest defensively. TCU is going to have to shoot a lot of jump shots with guys who aren't Mike Miles, and that's not their strength. I think on the road and having to go to Stillwater, which is it's not the toughest place to win, but on the road in the Big 12 is still on the road in the Big 12. So I think Oklahoma State gets a home win.
Do you like it enough now that it's at 4.5?
No, I couldn't lay 2 possessions, especially not in that range, because even if Oklahoma State's is up like 6 and you have the game under control and you've kind of deserved it the whole way, like all it takes is that one bad layup at the end of the game or that one buzzer beating 3. That 4.5 to 6.5 range is where things get kind of freaky at the end of games.
I might play this one buying a couple points.
Yeah.
But
I think you could like buy it down and use it as a parlay piece if you wanted to, like, because I don't think you want like TCU is the more talented team, and so like I don't think you want on that backside of the game to be sweating out Oklahoma State free throws and then TCU potential backdoor. Like I can't at 1.5 last night I should have bought it because at 1.5 I should have gotten Oklahoma State on that cheap money line price and taken it there because I do think it's a good spot.
I knew that the injury was there with TCU, but I felt like that line would still be there. And at worst, it was going to be like 2.5. So to now see it at 4.5 is a little bit disconcerting. I do like Kansas on the road today, but I feel like it's just because I'm fading Iowa State and I'm really high on Kansas, which I wasn't last year. And funny enough, they went on to win the national title. I feel like Texas Tech, that's a lot of points against Baylor, but I don't know. Texas Tech is
the no middle just gives Baylor a ton of problems on an annual basis. Like it's one of the things where like not necessarily that Scott Drew doesn't know how to attack it. It's just they just seemingly struggle against it a lot. I think it could be a rock fight. Like I would take Tech in the points. It's not on my card, but that's where I'd go with that. That Kansas Iowa State game is weird. Like I mean, because Hilton's a really hard place to win. Kansas has kind of been skidding, and at some point, like a group of that class, you just expect them to kind of like wake up and put it all back together, kind of like they did at Kentucky. But it's a stay away for me. Like I think I would lean Kansas, but I can't feel good about either side. I just want to watch that game.
I think the issue is you can't even do an Oklahoma State money line because you're looking at -200 with this TCU game. But yeah. I could maybe do like a -1.5, get it at like the -180 range, and then pair that with something else maybe that I like where I don't love the points. So, damn, I'm annoyed that I missed that line, and now I'm gonna have to go.
Maybe one of those where you're gonna have to like. You may have to or you could, if you think Rutgers wins or something, you pair the Oklahoma State money line with like a bought down Rutgers spread or something like that, and just kind of try to get it to that +100 range.
Okay, I'm gonna go and look at that. Let's talk Big East. I will
say on the Big 12 last note, I do have Texas on my card against Kansas State.
You have Texas, okay?
I do. I have.
What
Texas.
is it about Texas today?
I have Texas just because it's a revenge spot in Manhattan. I like Kansas State a lot, but I think Texas can get out in transition, which Kansas State doesn't defend well. This game in Austin was really weird. Like Texas gave up 116 points, but I think the underrated part of that is that Texas also scored 100 points. I trust Texas's defense to figure it out. Like that's been an elite defensive club all year, and that was just a kind of a one-off anomaly of a defensive game. So I do think that they can get I do think that they'll kind of adjust and go into Manhattan and find a way to win today. I think that they can still score and get out in transition. Kansas State's defense in transition has been bad pretty much against everybody that they've played this year. So I think that Texas can still get some easy buckets and they can make the adjustments on the defensive end to get a road win.
Okay, I might play Texas as well today. I'll see how I feel a little bit later on. What time's tip off with that one?
I'll have to double check. It all runs together at some point, but I think that may be
3
like
o'clock my time, so 4 Eastern. Okay.
I was about to say so I figured it was going to be like one of those 5 o'clock tips, but
okay. All right, let's talk Big East. A lot of big spreads here today. UConn's -12.5 on the road. Marquette -14.5 at home. Xavier -8.5 at home. And then actually Villanova and Creighton. I mean, Creighton's -10.5 at home today. any of these big numbers that you're looking at that you're intrigued by?
No, not particularly. And like, because you can't, like, Butler is one of those where, like, it's been just free money to lay the points and just, but like at some point they have to cover a game. And I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like it might be today. But I mean, obviously that's not something you're betting on.
Yeah.
Georgetown's a joke. Like that's been a joke for years. I do think but again though, like if I had to bet a side in that Georgetown Connecticut game, I would take Georgetown. And because of that, I'm not going to be a sicko and be crazy and bet on Butler and Georgetown. There's just too many other games to saddle myself with that amount of stress. And that St. John Xavier game, I don't want any part of because I think St. John's could be a live dog in that game, but Xavier could win that game by like 18. It
Yeah.
could, like, the range of outcomes for that St. John Xavier game is really, really wide. So I just don't want anything to do with it.
Okay, so I found Rutgers, Oklahoma State. Money line for both is plus 117. I think I'm locking that in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's plus money, so I'll put a unit on it. But I really want to lay Marquette today, and I know that I'm just going to be deemed hating Butler, but I just think that they're so bad. And I think that the fact that Marquette is averaging like 82 points per game right now, I can't imagine that Butler's going to hold them to under 80. And they're so bad.
And that's where you get like, and that's like, it's like kind of what I was saying is like, you would think we're reaching the floor for Butler in terms of market value. Like at some point they have to like play well, but then again, they also don't have to play well. Like nobody's making them like that's not necessarily a thing that has to happen. Sometimes teams are just so bad that they just never play well. And like that may be this Butler team this year.
Yeah, I think this is Butler for sure. I don't know. I think I'm going to play Marquette on just like a single unit for that one because I don't know. I just think that they're
it also gives you an excuse to cheer against Butler if you didn't already have one.
Yeah, I mostly just want them to be sad because I know someone's going to be sad watching. So let's go to Pac-12. We got Washington State taking on number 9 UCLA, and then we got Oregon State taking on number 5 Arizona. Another one where we have a very steep spread in that Arizona game. We're minus 20.5 right now versus Oregon State. I do think that like a non-ranked game that I'll look at is I might play that Arizona State money line just straight up.
I'm on the other side of that one.
You're playing Oregon, okay?
Yeah, it's not even. I just like the rebound spot off of the loss in Arizona, and there's no travel involved just because they were just playing Arizona.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Oregon's a little bit better than what they're rated right now. I have Oregon as a slight favorite, and I caught a 1.5 with them, so I felt pretty good about that. It's not like my favorite spot of the day. I don't think I included it on my bet stamp. I think it's one of those that I'm gonna add later, just depending on how the morning goes. But I would lean Oregon in that night slate. It's just like one of those where you kind of look at Arizona State and like I think they're good, but like that resume just lacks like that super quality win in conference. Like they've kind of beat who they're supposed to beat and lost to who they're supposed to lose to. And so you get in this place here where now it's kind of a toss up, and I'll just take the better coach.
Okay. SEC wise, anything for you? We got Auburn and Tennessee, and then we got Bama and LSU. For me, that Bama spread's my favorite of the day. I know it's minus 11.5 and it's on the road, but I don't know. Just looking at the numbers, I just think that LSU is just not good. Bama does a good job of covering on the road. Like LSU's only covered 2 of their 13 home games.
I know, and I think they just kind of quit. I fell into the trap with LSU a couple weeks ago and took them, I think, on a plus 11.5 against Tennessee at home, and Tennessee just blew them to hell. And so I think that Alabama look is absolutely the right side. I think that's the sharp side.
I just think this is going to be like a 20-point win, and LSU's never going to be in it. Like we could see Bama going up like 10 in the first like 5 or 6 minutes, and then I just don't know if LSU can recover because they can't match them scoring wise. That's the thing, and very few teams in the country can match Bama scoring wise. But I just think that it's a good road spot.
Yeah, I do too. And then I mentioned earlier that Auburn playing up in Tennessee. I would take the 9.5-10 with Auburn today. If you like whatever that last I saw was 9.5. So
Yeah.
I would take those points today with that Bruce Pearl bunch. They're really good, tough shot makers, and they're a decent 3-point shooting team. Tennessee is due for some like defensive regression on that side. They're the best team, or like I think teams miss right around 60% of unguarded 3-pointers against them, which is not super sustainable over the course of the season. They're an elite defensive team, but they're not the greatest college basketball defense of all time, like they've been touted to be over the last few weeks. So I still think it's an elite Tennessee team. I think that they'll win the game, but I do think 9.5 is just a little bit too many.
Okay. I gotta ask you this because you're the Ole Miss guy. Do they cover 4.5 at Vandy today, or is that just?
I think they do. Like I think they're
I
going to be able
thought that they would too, and that was one that I had on my potentials, but I wanted to ask you about it before I went and laid it.
I think they'll be able to turn Vandy over and get some easy buckets. Like I think you'll get Matthew Morrell back today too. That's not official, but I think that's probably it's trending that way. It's been game time decision the last 2 games, so I think that he's kind of right there. It's just, I think that they're still playing hard. I mean, everybody knows the coach is going to get fired. A player yelled as much at the coach during practice this week. So I do think they play up here kind of like a last ditch effort type deal. And I think they cover that 4.5 against a Vandy team that's just not that much better than they are. And you don't have to worry about like a true home court advantage with Vandy, because that place will be pretty much empty. Like that's not going to be one where you have to go in and like deal with an electric atmosphere or anything.
Okay. All right. I like it. I think I'm going to play it. But all right. Let's go over to other ranked games that are happening today. We've got a few teams that are not in the big conferences that are ranked. We got that Florida Atlantic at number 19 in the country. They're taking on Charlotte, coming off their second loss. And then you've got Gonzaga and St. Mary's, with St. Mary's as a slight home favorite. Either of these games that you're looking at?
So there's 2 sides I like in these 2 games. I only played one of them. As per usual, I lean the FAU side on FAU Charlotte. I think they rebound from the UAB loss and cover that spread against Charlotte. Charlotte's kind of that average to good Conference USA team, which FAU has fared really well against this year. They're not quite in that UAB class like what they faced on Wednesday. But the one I actually played is I laid the points with St. Mary's. I've been waiting on this spot all year. I think I tweeted it at some point a couple weeks ago that St. Mary's is absolutely the class of the West Coast Conference right now. Gonzaga's defensive problems are very, very real, and they're one of the worst post-up defenses in the country, and St. Mary's has the types of bigs where they can throw it in there and really take advantage of that. So I think when you factor that in, along with the defensive strategy and the really good coaching of Randy Bennett, I think that you could be looking at an under here, and then also looking at St. Mary's minus the 3. I think I actually laid them 3.5. So I laid that one as soon, and it was bookmarked for me weeks ago. Like I've been kind of waiting on this spot to take St. Mary's.
Okay, I kind of like it as well. I think
Vegas is showing you, and I think Vegas is showing you what they think of Gonzaga with that line strength too. Like saying like, yeah, like not only are we giving you St. Mary's, but like St. Mary's would be favored on a neutral floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they're showing you that line strength and really speaking to they think like Gonzaga has serious problems.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to play that Florida Atlantic line, I think, coming off their loss. I'm high on them just like you are. So I think that will be one that I definitely look at. Before we kind of put together maybe like a fun little teaser parlay or something, I do want to mention a couple other guys who gave us some picks today. Couple NBA ones. I know that we're more college basketball focused today, but shocker, Mo Murphy's playing the Lakers money line today as they take on the Pelicans. Pels have been brutal lately, but I think people are maybe a little bit too high on what the Lakers have been. Like they're talking like they've been playing like one of the best teams in basketball recently, and I just don't think that that's true. So he's playing Lakers money line. I do want to mention we have a couple player props that were submitted as well, and so I'm going to put them up on the screen for us. We've got that Kristaps Porzingis play. I saw that one this morning too, was one that I was really intrigued by, to go the under on his points at 22.5. and then take the Holiday over on rebounds, assists, and Vucevic over on rebounds, assists as well. That's from at Big Picks Energy. So appreciate you submitting plays as well. And then I don't know what your thoughts are on this NBA game. Have you been betting a lot of NBA? Because I haven't been recently, and I think it's just because every team just has players out every night. I just don't
Look
know
at
where to go with it.
lines. I don't bet a ton of it just because the lineup news comes so late. But I look at a lot of the lines and kind of see spots here and there where I hate that I like the Lakers today. But yeah, like last night, I thought to myself, I was like, yeah, like the Pistons are definitely a spot. Like that's definitely a game where you bet Detroit to beat Charlotte. And I didn't bet it. And then I think the Pistons won 118, 112 or something like that. So like I look at spots and pay attention to it, but I don't like betting it because as soon as I bet something, then like the first and second scoring option will get ruled out for load management.
Yeah. So one that was kind of two guys on opposite sides of this one. Shout out to JB Fortis as well as Albert Locks. They were on opposite sides of that Milwaukee and Miami game tonight. Milwaukee currently -5.5 at home. What concerns me, like I know that Milwaukee's 22-5 at home, but as always, like Giannis is a game time decision. So I'm like, does he go today? Like if he does go, then you probably want to. Well, you should be backing Miami right now if you like them, because if he gets ruled out, then it's just going to move down to probably close to a pick 'em. But I don't know. What do you think of Miami and Milwaukee?
I would back Miami if I had to back anything. That's also just like two teams that really don't like each other, and those games are always close. So even if Giannis plays, like I know Miami's kind of down this year, but I still think that's one of those where they play up just because of the rivalry and just because they really don't like each other, and Miami at least keeps it within 2 possessions.
Yeah, like it just seems like a lot of points. I kind of like that 5.5, so I think I'm going to play it. JP Fortis, he was the one who was on the Heat, and he was thinking with Giannis being questionable, like I think he's hoping that he doesn't go. Obviously, most people would, but if you're back in the Miami side, but definitely an interesting game to look at for sure. So your favorite play of the day today, Eastern Kentucky, -1.5. Tell me why you love it.
Yeah, so it's a revenge spot for Eastern Kentucky at home. They match up really well just from a stylistic standpoint. I've been the Kennesaw State Owls' biggest fan all year long. Like I've backed them on the road against Power Fives, backed them pretty much everywhere. Today is the day we go the opposite direction. I do think that we're reaching kind of that top value point for Kennesaw State where they're going to be valued as high as they've ever been valued. Eastern Kentucky at home, they're going to press. They're going to shoot a bunch of threes. This game went into overtime, I think. It either went into overtime or was really close wire to wire when they played in Georgia. So they've already kind of shown that they match up well and that they stylistically play well and that these two teams are really even. And if you look back past seasons, these games have been really, really close, and Eastern Kentucky has fared well in the home ones. So I think that you get Eastern Kentucky here at a really cheap price, a buy low price. And the other thing that they were able to do in the road game against Kennesaw State that is definitely replicable today is they were able to take that press and turn Kennesaw State over and turn it into easy baskets. So I'll take Eastern Kentucky. I'll take that 40 minutes of the most exciting 40 minutes you'll watch type of basketball with the press and all those 3-pointers getting up. I think that they shoot well today, and I think they turn them over with that press and do enough to beat Kennesaw State at home.
Okay.
Because we are talking about a 25-1 shot in Kennesaw State preseason, like to win that conference. That's now all of a sudden like laying points on the road against the class, like against one of the teams that's been the class of the conference. Like that's one of those things where it's like, whoa, like that's a bit much. But I will say this: Kennesaw State 7-2 is road underdogs this year. So if you were looking for a reason to get scared off of this line, that would be why. But I'm not. I'm going to take Eastern Kentucky, lay the 1.5, and ride with the Colonels.
Okay, so why don't we put together like low 4-teamer just for fun of plays that we've had today. I like your Eastern Kentucky one. We can play that. I was going to put Bama in there as well.
Okay.
You and Tarp Sports were both on Virginia Tech today, so I think that would be a good piece. Then we just need a fourth for today. What's one that you love on the slate?
Oh, let's see.
Is it FAU?
It could be them, or it could be Indiana if you're adding that to your card.
Oh,
That would be a -110 money line, I think is what I got them at. Yeah, I mean it could be that FA, it could be, or it could be that FA youth play. Um, yeah,
I'm worried about fading Purdue, but it's also because I faded Purdue midweek, and then we saw how that worked out. So I'm kind of thinking FAU.
Okay, let's go with the Owls. How can I not bet on the Owls?
Yeah, I was gonna say you've been a big Owls backer all year, and if you were gonna just like chicken out on me there, then I was gonna be a little bit upset. So
No, absolutely, we ride with the Owls.
okay, so I'll play Owls -4.5. We're playing. What's yours? Eastern Kentucky, and then we've got Alabama, and then Virginia Tech today. Okay, so I'm going to put that one together, do up a quick graphic for it. We got tip-off here in 5 minutes' time, so I want to head downstairs, mix myself a beverage, and just enjoy some college basketball today. Before I let you go, Walker, who's winning today, Duke or North Carolina?
I think Duke wins. Duke wins a close one.
I hate the -3.5 today.
I do too. I really wanted to back Carolina in the spot, but I'm just going to watch the game and enjoy it. Even though both teams are not what they've been historically, it's still one of those great rivalries. So, if not definitely the best in all of college basketball. So I'll be tuned in no matter what.
Okay, sounds good, buddy. Well, go follow Walker at Walker Bailey 818. Go follow me at Hedge Pod. Appreciate everyone who hopped on the Hedge betting stream. Shout out to Tarp Sports and Part-Time Picks for hopping on, and all the guys that submitted plays as well. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next Saturday with some more college basketball plays, some more NBA maybe as well, and we'll see you guys next weekend for the Hedge